Test, test, test.
Scheduled meeting of the San Marcos CISD Board of Trustees. Tonight is October 20th. It is 6:00 p.m. in our central offices. I have 5 board members in person, and I believe we will have one person possibly joining via Zoom and another person who is going to join us on the dais shortly. That does mean we have a quorum, so we will proceed. I would like to ask our Goodnight Middle School family and administration to come up to the podium, please. We are going to be led this evening in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge by two of our Goodnight students. Two? Yay. Okay. Can you introduce, please? Press the button on the right. Here comes our techo. No. Here we go.
Good evening, board and community members. My name is Isabel Comas. I'm the academic dean at Goodnight Middle School. And tonight we have
Bryn Irvin
and
Chandler Lampkin.
Okay, go ahead. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you all very much. Have a great school year. Ms. Cantu has joined us on Zoom. The next item this evening is a public hearing of the Bowie Elementary School turnaround plan. Dr. Sanders.
Good evening, President Halsey, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Cardona. This evening, we will have our Bowie turnaround plan. And before I invite Ms. Berry, our principal, here to come speak on the actual strategies that are embedded within the plan, I will give a brief overview as to what is required with school improvement by the Texas Education Agency. So campuses are identified as needing improvement or interventions based on if they are rated as a D or F. So an A through C constitutes acceptable performance, while a D, whether it's the first or second year, needs improvement. F, or a third D without a C or better, is also deemed unacceptable. So this is under TE's, Texas Education Code, Chapter 39, which outlines the requirement that a campus that receives an unacceptable rating must go through a process consisting of a needs assessment, stakeholder engagement, and a turnaround plan. And the turnaround plan is what we'll be presenting tonight to you all, and it will have features of the needs assessment and the stakeholder engagement embedded within it. And one thing to keep in mind that we did not have tests accountability results released for a couple of years. So that's why it might seem that why are we just now getting to this point when that Bowie experienced a D or F several years ago. It's because that the accountability ratings were delayed due to litigation. So in order to support the work that is happening on the campus of Bowie, there is a campus intervention team that is designated by the Texas Education Agency. This is to ensure that the campus has adequate support to meet the requirements that will lead them out of the status of being unacceptable. The campus intervention team is required for all school improvement campuses, and there are several key stakeholders that participate on that. First and foremost is our campus principal, who leads that committee. The principal's direct manager and or supervisor, in this case it's Dr. Cole. The district coordinator for school improvement, which is also called a DCSI. Oftentimes that person will also be the supervisor of the principal, which is also Dr. Cole. There are others determined by the local education agency in consultation with the superintendent. So other members include myself as deputy superintendent, Ms. Madiowski as the director of curriculum instruction K-12, Ms. Nash as our director of accountability. And so we work closely with Ms. Berry to ensure she has the necessary supports and resources so that the campus can come out of that unacceptable performance. Some of the responsibilities include conducting a on-site needs assessment, recommending actions to the area of insufficient performance, and Ms. Berry will talk about what particular areas that they've identified as needing additional intervention, developing the turnaround plan, a public hearing that was held at her campus, in addition to submitting to you all as our Board of Trustees the turnaround plan for approval, executing the turnaround plan, which is obviously the most important part, and progress monitoring to make sure that our students are progressing in the areas that have been identified. And in the event that we are not successful after the first year, is making sure that in subsequent years that we continue to move forward with the plan and adjust as necessary so that we can make sure that Bowie moves off of this list. So as we think about the planning, supports, and implementation, again, this is a collective effort between the campus, the district, Region 13, who is our Education Service Center, and the TEA. So we have what's called the TAP, Technical Assistance, and this starts with a phone call that is held with the superintendent of schools. And during this phone call, the superintendent is informed of the designation of the campus as needing turnaround. Also, we have the Effective Schools Framework Model. And you all may remember this is the model that we've been implementing across our district for a number of years. This is the model that is endorsed by the TEA as the framework that should be seen in all schools. So this is not something new, but it's just reinforcing the idea that we need to have a research-based model in order to ensure that effective teaching and learning practices are happening in the school. The superintendent consultation consists of a series of meetings between the superintendent and various members of the Region Service Center. I also participate in those meetings with Dr. Cardona, and this is just to make sure that all deadlines are followed and adhered to, because there is a required date that this plan must be approved and submitted to the TEA. So it's making sure that we stay on top of what those deadlines are. We also have, as an additional planning support, the LASSO Texas Instructional Leadership. This is a grant that we received a couple years back, and this grant has provided to our campuses some additional support in the way of instructional leadership coaching. So we have a number of campuses that are going through the work with the TEA in terms of the Texas Instructional Leadership. One of the things that we have emphasized heavily across the district over the past couple years is observation and feedback, making sure that as administrators, that teachers are getting relevant and timely feedback that's bite-sized, knowing that we cannot overwhelm teachers by giving them 20, 30 things to look at when we visit classrooms. So that's one thing they have really emphasized, is to make sure that when you go in a classroom, that what is the biggest bang for your buck that you're going to get that will improve student learning. The implementation supports, the capacity building supports. We have a dedicated team from Region 13 who work closely with us. They come out and support us as district leaders and campus leaders. and they do a great job of coaching us to coach principals, to coach teachers. And so we have the pleasure of being recorded oftentimes so that we can see exactly how we're providing coaching. Ms. Berry, I'm sure, can talk more about what it's like to have those meetings, but it is something that really is helping us across the system. And the performance management site visits is exactly that. Those are scheduled periodically where they actually come to the district, they walk the campus, they visit classrooms, they conduct the diagnostic where they are looking for specific indicators of effective teaching and learning happening in classrooms, and they leave a very comprehensive report for the principal as well as the district leaders to ensure that we're working on the areas that have been identified. So the required interventions for state accountability. Currently, Bowie is at year 2. So if you look at the left-hand column, it says if the consecutive unacceptable count is. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. Bowie currently is at year 2, which means that we are in the process, obviously, of presenting to you a turnaround plan that has been developed, and upon your approval will be submitted to the commissioner for final approval. Here's the important thing to keep in mind. Although we are not going to operate where we have unlimited time, because we don't, we do have 2 years, but we want to operate with a great sense of urgency because we're talking about students' lives. And so we're not going to say we have 2 years to get off this list. But if you do look up there, year 3 or 4 constitutes to continue the implement of the plan. So if for some reason we were not to get off the list, we would still have another 2 years. Year 5 is an important one that I really need to stress the importance of. If for any reason we still have a school, in this case Bowie, that is a D or F rated after year 5, that is possible that the TEA could look at school closure or board of managers replacement. So that's something that obviously none of us want to happen. So our goal is for this year is to exit off of that list. We do not want to risk getting into year 4 or 5. And again, we're talking about kids, so we don't want to fail our students. So I've already said how does a D or F campus exit school improvement? It's simple, by earning an A, B, or C rating. And the way that we do this is by being very tight with our systems, with our instruction. And this is what Ms. Berry will be presenting to you all here in just a second. So what our ask is for you all, from you all this evening after you've heard the plan, is it must be approved by the Commissioner of Education, but it starts with you all as our Board of Trustees to approve it so that we can submit it by November 21st. If we do not have it submitted by that date, we will remain on the list, and that's obviously not something that we want for failing to meet the deadline. So after Ms. Berry has gone over the presentation, if there are any questions that you have for either one of us, we'll be more than willing to answer those questions to help you as you go about determining whether or not to approve the turnaround plan as presented for Bowie Elementary. Yes, it should be the next thing.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, President Halsey, Dr. Cardona, our cabinet. I wanted to start by introducing myself. I'm Jessica Berry, the proud principal of Bowie Elementary. I have come here tonight with our instructional learning team, Ms. Chaffee, our assistant principal, Ms. Sherry Randau, our instructional coach, and Ms. Hortensia Collazo, who is our lead intervention teacher. They have really been an instrumental part of helping to build this plan, and they are definitely an instrumental piece in executing this plan. So I'm really happy that they're here tonight to be a part of this. The plan that I'm going to go over with you right now really is an overview of the plan. The plan itself is many pages, but this really captures a snapshot of the big ideas. And we're really, really excited to start. And we already have started executing components of this plan, which really is to meet our overarching goal, which is to move Bowie to a C this coming year and ultimately to a B the next year. And really our goal has one a unifying research-based turnaround strategy, and that is intensive focus on curriculum and Tier 1 instruction. So part of our needs assessment really was looking at our demographics at Bowie Elementary, the historical demographics, where we have started and where we would like to go. And with the demographics, we were able to identify some goal areas as they pertain to accountability. And as you can see on the screen, this is just a visual. Listed right underneath the goal area are our core contents in reading, math, and science. Those are our STAR-tested grades, but also is the TELPIS, which is the Texas Assessment of Language Proficiency, and also attendance, because all of those components will make a difference in moving our campus. This is really important because the word meets is in all capital, because we know that if students are approaching, they are still approaching grade level proficiency in learning the standards. And our goal is to get students to meets, which means that they are meeting the requirements for knowing and understanding grade level standards for that grade level so that they are prepared to move on to the next grade level. This helps us close gaps so that year after year we're not having to continuously chase growth, and we can focus more on overall academic performance. Our population of students, as you can see, are predominantly Hispanic with 78%. This is important because the Hispanic population on our campus was one of our most underperforming population of students. And as you can see, they make up the majority of our campus. We also have economically disadvantaged student population of 72%. We're still ironing out those numbers. Last year it was upwards of 80%. So through PEIMS clarification, we're still trying to figure out what that number will look like. And of course, our special education population and our emergent bilingual students. So we have the goal and the strategy. These are the action steps to help us reach our goal. And really it comes down to moving three big rocks, which is our Tier 1 instruction, showing growth in reading and math, and then closing our gaps for emergent bilingual and special education students, or students who are receiving special education services. Our Tier 1 instruction really focuses on internalizing lessons. We've received a lot of coaching through the Texas Instructional Leadership on internalization. Our instructional leadership team works really hard with our teachers to help them, to model this for them, to coach them. This is something that we monitor frequently. We also have routine coaching and feedback cycles through not just walkthroughs, but observations. We do weekly calibrations. Ms. Chaffee and I and the learning team, we meet upwards of 3 to 5 times a week to do these check-ins to make sure that we are seeing what we need to be seeing, and if not, how do we adjust? And then also we have professional development that has already been scheduled. We have professional development upcoming, and we have professional development that's happening right on our campus as early as a few weeks from now, to include some teacher-led and campus-based professional learning based on high-yield strategies that our teachers are needing that we've identified through observation. Our second big rock is student growth in reading and math. We really focused in on the boost time. Boost stands for building on our own skills and talents. This really is, some campuses talk about it as a win time. It's what our students need. So this is a time, 45 minutes a day, that is really blocked out. It is not to be interrupted or touched, and we have a group of students that are in groups identified by our intervention team, identified by teachers, and we are working diligently with those students to help close their individual gaps. So it really is a personalized approach for those students that we're working with, and those groups change based on data. And of course, progress monitoring. And then of course, closing our gaps for emergent bilingual students and our students who receive special education support. So having a goal is great, having a strategy is great, and having monitoring how we're going to do this is great. But if we don't continue to manage ourselves and manage these systems, then that could lead to it not being successful. So we have identified some weekly, twice monthly, every 6 to 9 weeks, monthly and quarterly check-ins. But in all reality, these are happening way more often. We meet like I was saying before, we meet quite often. When I say we calibrate, we walk in, we observe, we meet immediately after, we keep data, and we are turning that around almost immediately into our professional learning communities and using time with our instructional learning team to help build teacher capacity on our campus. And that's an overall view of our turnaround plan.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
Mr. Sanders, or Dr. Sanders, you indicated that we're in year. Can you explain the year progression? Because I thought I saw 3 consecutive D's or F's, but you said we were in year 3. Is that right?
Year 2.
We're in year 2, even though there were the 3 years.
So it actually, the first year that we earned the F or D would not count to the actual when it was calculating the years.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Arredondo.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Arredondo.
Thank you, President Halsey. First, Principal Barry, I just want to acknowledge and speak to the fact that this is your first year as principal at this campus. I know during your hiring, we had this conversation that you specifically had asked to lead this campus, knowing the challenges that you are inheriting, and I just want to thank you for that and for your leadership of knowing what you were getting yourself into. Conversely, I guess my question to you as campus leader, when it came to selecting the percentage of students of your goal of meets standard, how did y'all come to those calculations and numbers?
Well, we looked at what our previous accountability ratings were and calculated the growth that would be required. And some of the categories and some of the content areas were requiring more growth. And so that's reflected in a bigger gap in numbers. So some of, for example, I believe reading language arts, really if we have 11% growth, that will move the needle for our students as far as a full accountability rating goes. And then there are other, actually I believe, reading language arts was 11, and then math would be a bigger. We need to grow a little bit more and close those gaps. So that was upwards of a 20% growth in the meets accountability category.
Thank you. My second and final question, President Halsey, is for Dr. Sanders in particular. Thank you, Principal Barry. Dr. Sanders, obviously, even based on this presentation, we've seen this campus struggling for numerous years now. I guess my question is, as Deputy Superintendent and the person over our academic division, what is it that the central office and central administration is going to do to support this campus? Because I do have concerns at the reoccurring challenges that this campus has been experiencing.
And it boils down to the key word you said, support. And I would like to say, let's not be lost on the fact that Bowie did see improvement last year. It wasn't the improvement that obviously we are never going to be thrilled with seeing our campus remain at a D, but for the prior 2 years it was an F and it went to a D. So we're committed to making sure that as Bowie is going through their professional development, we are also participating in that same level of training. So we're sitting shoulder by shoulder with campus admin, because it's not enough for us as central office to have a look down view. We've got to be connecting with our leaders. So just to give you all, this is a non-instructional piece that I'm going to share, but we've got individuals who can come to the campus to make sure that Ms. Berry and Ms. Chaffee, the assistant principal, are in classrooms daily. So something as small as lunch duty. We've got to have people covering lunch duty, right? Well, I can go out there and cover a lunch duty. Members of my academics team can cover lunch duty. So that's a non-instructional support that we can provide. But in addition to the non-instructional, the instructional support also comes through being there for PLC meetings, walking with the campus leaders and coaching them as we're having conversations going in and out of classrooms, and making sure that Ms. Berry mentioned about the calibration piece, but are we seeing the same things when we go in and out of classrooms? Because if Ms. Berry is seeing one thing and I look at something completely different, then there's a disconnect. Also, as Deputy Superintendent, I'm able to, some of the resources, if we know that we have a campus such as Bowie that has experienced challenges over the last couple of years, I'm not going to sit back and not allocate resources, more resources to that particular school if we have another school that may not need as much. So that's something that we've really emphasized this year is where is our greatest need and making sure that we're putting those resources in the place where they're needed the most. Oh, please.
Go ahead.
Can I also add to that? I'm sorry. I did want to say that from the moment that we were identified and from the implementation of the start of this turnaround plan, the support that's been given by district level has been really incredible. Dr. Cole visits the campus quite often. We touch base very often. He offers feedback, and we turn that around. Ms. Madiowski with data, Ms. Nash, Dr. Sanders, even Dr. Valadez reaching out and meeting with us to talk about how to improve the learning of our emergent bilinguals and all language learners on our class. She has provided professional learning herself, which was amazing, and I'm actually trying to get them back for that, so that's an ongoing practice. So I have never felt once that I'm doing this alone, and it has been very refreshing and really appreciated the level of support that's been given. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sanders, Principal Barry. Colleagues on the board, I know we had talked about this and made remarks about how intentional we were managing our financial situation over the past year, having frequent updates about our financial status, what we were doing with the budget, et cetera. And I think that really fleshed out the success of that process. Mm-hmm. So similarly, I would be very interested in, I'm fine moving forward with this plan, but having some type of regular interval of updates of what central administration is doing to support the campus, what Principal Barry is doing with her academic team, and what the staff is doing, and even those results of those common assessments and whatever tools you're using to, as a board member, to be able to monitor and say, yes, I understand where we are, but obviously, staff is working diligently to move the needle in the right direction. So I would just hope that we can have that moving forward.
Mr. McLaughlin, you have another question?
I second that. On some sort of calendar, maybe if you could get back to us at our next agenda prep of when would be useful. I don't want to bring you down here all the time, but when you have some data to show if what you believe is going to work is showing some early fruit, that would be good to see. I think this is a very pressing challenge for the district. I'm very confident in the leadership we've added in the school. I used to go to Bowie, and I don't think 3 years of providing substandard instruction, at least in outcomes, is fair to the 450 kids that attend there. So I'm at least as an individual trustee, not going to wait till year 5 to do something if this doesn't work. So if there's any resource you need or something, we'll move some money around and find it, but we don't know if you don't tell us. So thank you.
Ms. Cantu?
I'm wondering, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm wondering what the parental participation is going to be during this process. Are we meeting with parents so that they're totally aware of what's happening at Bowie and how it's affecting their children, and what participation are they going to have in this process?
Yes, ma'am. So at our open house night, I actually, as part of the Title I presentation, did like a soft launch basically of our turnaround plan. I identified the public and let them know that this is the direction that we were heading and that we were needing to close some achievement gaps. And I offered the date of our stakeholder engagement meeting, which was held on October 5th. And then at that meeting, I laid out the plan and elicited feedback from the community via a Google document where they can provide resources. Our teachers are very well versed in what is required and are completely on board, and the energy around showing growth is really exciting to see. The parents, the ones that attended the meeting, are very well aware, but in our weekly newsletters, I have been adding additional tidbits as far as the importance of attendance, and we really have been working to improve and increase our family engagement. Our first family engagement opportunity we had brought in over 250 families, and I was told that maybe was a new and exciting opportunity for families that maybe there hadn't been that much participation. So the families are excited and involved, and with our first round of common assessments in the books, that information was also shared with families, and we are currently planning to host a learning night for our parents. We're still in the works of planning that out, but we're going to continue to include the parents in all pieces of the turnaround plan and really honestly celebrating all the growth as it's happening.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you both very much. I just want to say, Ms. Berry, thank you, Principal Berry, that I've been hearing really tremendous things about you being at the school, even though you've just been there for 2 months. I've heard from parents, I've heard from teachers, I've heard from kids about the culture and how excited everybody is, and everybody feels like you're really going in the right direction. And it sounds like you have terrific support. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, the next item this evening, we have a very busy agenda. We also have nearly 20 people here to speak. So I'm going to, unless there's objection from anybody, any of my colleagues, I'm going to ask every speaker to limit their comments to 1 minute. I would like you to come up to the podium when you're called, say your name, give your address, and then there'll be a timer on the board. The first person this evening, any objections? Seeing none, we'll move forward. The first person is Matthew Young. Yes, please. And please state your name and your address.
The mic's not on.
How about now? Matthew Young, 1350 Sadler Avenue. Does my time start now, or can I?
Go ahead.
Good evening, President Halsey, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Cardona, and everyone here tonight. My name is Matthew Young, and I want to take a few minutes to talk about Senate Bill 13. Not in a political way, but from a perspective of what matters most, our students and their learning. Senate Bill 13 gives local boards more say in reviewing and approving what's in our libraries. I understand and I respect that. The people who know our kids best, our teachers, parents, and local leaders should help guide what they read and explore. But as we use that responsibility, I hope we remember what a school library is for: helping students grow. Libraries are more than shelves on a book. They're places where students get curious, discover new ideas, and build their reading skills that help them succeed in every subject. If we take away too many books, we don't just remove stories, we remove opportunities for kids to learn, to ask questions, and to think for themselves.
Thank you very much. The second speaker is Mary Salmi.
Hello, board. Dr. Cardona. I live on Brown Street, and I have 3 students that have attended 4 different San Marcos ISD schools. And I came tonight to tell you thank you for continuing to provide freedom and liberty for our children to choose the books that they want to read. And to thank you as a parent to give me the opportunity to talk to my students about books that they may have questions about. Because that's my job. That's not your job. That's not their teacher's job. That's not their librarian's job. That's my job. And so when my kids have brought home books that have ideas that I find questionable, they might be Reagan-era economics, something that I don't particularly agree with. I take the opportunity to discuss that with my kids, and I appreciate that opportunity. And I also want to ask you, and if you're listening, to tell all of our librarians thank you. Like I said, my kids have attended 4 San Marcos schools. Those 4 librarians were amazing people. Some of them still see us in town and ask about my kid who graduated from the University of Texas after San Marcos High. Thank you.
The next speaker is Steve Sa.
Good evening, President and Board. We have a my name is Steve from New Braunfels, Texas. We have a disclaimer tonight. If you're a young child in here or you don't like to hear disgusting sexual immorality, if you want to leave the room tonight. But I have this book. It's called The Haters, and it is full of sexual, disgusting immorality. And this book is in our schools. I do have a review here that I don't have time to read, but this review is by someone that's not normal. They're on the left, and this review is about that, and she agrees that the book should be pulled. Like Travis and many schools pull the book, But I do have in front of me the Dallas High School 1946, authorized by the Board of Education, Dallas High School Bible Study Course. So what would we want in our schools? Would we want this? Would this help kids filth? Or would a Bible study course approved by the Dallas schools? I think this would. And I think you guys have common sense to know that, right?
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Joey Lynn Maceros, and please remember to state your name and your address.
My name is Joey Lynn Maceros from New Braunfels, Texas. We just heard an awesome presentation on a campus intervention team. What you guys really need is a library intervention team to remove sexually explicit content that is harming the children here in this district. Y'all mentioned an unacceptable rating, and I'd have to give you guys an F based on some of the books that I've read accessible to our children, including graphic rape scenes, sex dungeons. This is not the kind of information our children need access to learn. Y'all said we don't want to fail our students, and your slogan is, we're committed to excellence. This is not excellent. This is not diverse, and it's not inclusive. Traumatizing children whose brains are still developing in an environment that's supposed to be a safe place for learning it's not diverse, and it's not inclusive. In the words of my friend, Pastor John Amanchuku, if you keep these books accessible to children, which my friends are fixing to read to you now, you're either a punk or you're a pervert.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mason Lemmy.
How you doing? My name is Mason Lemmy. I'm from Huntington Beach, California originally, and I'm a current student at Texas State University. I just want to say our children are the future of this country. They need to be protected, whether it's at home, in the classroom, in the bathroom, etc. I know this isn't the first time, and you guys are going to hear this about books. There's a book called Kingdom of the Cursed by Carrie Maniscalco. You can read it if you want to be a weirdo and read it, but that's to our children. I know I'm not the first person to speak out against this evil trash, so for any of you that stand for this or even silently allow this to be shown to children, you have failed this city. I just want to make this abundantly clear. We live in a sick world. I want to read this Bible verse, Matthew 18:6. Whoever causes one of these little ones to sin, it would be better if a stone were hung around your neck and you were drowned in the depth of the sea. Jessica, I saw you were a pastor at a church in VIII.A. That is Living Word Church. I know you stand for all the LGBTQ crap. It's garbage. And I just want to say, if you don't believe in God, check your heart. Or if you do believe in God, check your heart. If you don't believe in God, you better get right. Because the king is coming back soon, and we will all be judged.
Hello, my name is Lynette, and I'm here today as a concerned parent to speak about the book Crank. This book contains
Sorry, could you please give your address?
Oh, sorry. 4702 Highway 123, San Marcos. This book contains explicit sexual content, sexual battery, strong profanity, and detailed depictions of drug abuse. I find this highly inappropriate for minors, and I'm deeply concerned that this kind of material is being accessible to our children in a school setting. Even our Texas state prisons restrict inmates from accessing graphic and sexually explicit books like this. So why are y'all allowing them? Why are y'all allowing them this content in our schools where children are supposed to be learning in a safe, age-appropriate environment? I must also ask, with the new laws that went into effect on September 1, laws that specifically address the presence of profane and indecent materials in Texas school library, why haven't y'all taken action already? We are already in October.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Tyler Seth.
Tyler Say, New Braunfels resident. Just got a question for you guys, and that is, if you were to die tonight, where would you go, heaven or hell? Where would you go? Do you know Jesus as your Lord and Savior? I'm telling you today that you can know for sure where you're going when you leave this life. And before I give you a verse here, I just want to say that baptism does not save you. Baptism is only an outward expression of salvation. I say that because 95% of Christians that I meet believe baptism saves you. If you were raised in that religious lie, then you will know the truth tonight. Romans chapter 10 verse 9 says that if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. You can be saved from hell. You can be saved from your sin. Where is that at? Hold on one second. You can have Jesus in your heart, and he will save you from yourself. Jesus will break the chains of sin that are attached to you. If you would like to ask Jesus in your heart tonight
Thank you
and
very
be
much.
saved from hell and your sin, Romans 10:9, repeat it. Ask him in your heart.
Thank you.
He'll save you.
The next speaker is Dustin Inderman.
Thank you. Dustin Enderman, 217 Railroad Street. I'm here tonight to bring your attention to one of the books in the Goodnight School. And I can imagine some of these kids that were here earlier reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to get a hold of these books and have to read them. It's pretty disgusting.
Sorry, is that in San Marcos or is that in a different location? The address that you gave?
I'm in VI.A.
Thank you.
I'm in VI.A. The book is Wicked by Gregory Maguire. It's available here, as I said, Good Night. And the book includes scenes best described as pornographic, and it depicts a puppet family performing an incestuous sexual act, a scene in which a man and a woman engage in a sex with a tiger, and a brothel called the Philosophy Club, where human and animal characters participate in BDSM orgies. Bestiality in our middle schools. Bestiality. Under Texas Education Code 33.021, districts must prohibit possession of any library material that's harmful, sexually explicit, or contains indecent content. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker this evening is Susie Carter. Thank you. Please state your name and address.
Yes, I'm Susie Carter at 121 Grist Mill Road, and as a former teacher, educational consultant, and Hays County Commissioner, I'm very concerned about the books, these many books in this list that I gave you.
Sorry, could you please clarify what town you live in?
Kyle, Texas.
Thank you.
This list is hundreds of very obscene books, and it is never acceptable for students to be provided vulgar, explicit materials. It rapes their minds and grooms them for perversion and violence. Students who are experiencing sexual abuse should receive legal and medical assistance, not books that normalize the abuse. Here is one example of what children are being given in San Marcos School District. It's at Miller Middle School. He unbuckled his belt once before.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Deanne Anderson.
Thank you for your time. I'm Deanne Anderson, 274 Mika Trail, Maxwell. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a concerned citizen, an aunt, a mother, and grandmother in this area. These books in the library are a violation of SB 13. And I'm going to read just a small section since we have limited time. The worst part now is two images of her that appear when you let yourself remember Damon fucking her and Damon killing her. The name of this book is called People Kill People. How is this educational? How is this allowed in the schools? A team here earlier said they don't want to fail the students. We are failing the students. We have an obligation to protect these children and to respect these children. And by allowing them to read this profanity, which has profane content, indecent material, we're not protecting the children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lori Davis.
My name is Lori Davis, 422 Lazy Lane, San Marcos. I don't know what you hold to in your faith, but the fact is there is a creator. You can't have a building without a builder. And there is a creator who created each of you, who you will stand before and give an account for your lives. The late Charlie Kirk said, I'm flesh and bone, but more importantly, I'm a soul. And that soul is accountable to only one being. He lived his life understanding his accountability before a holy God. You each have been blessed with authority and power, But more than that, you have children that have been placed in your care, and that's something very precious to our Lord. You will answer for that care whether you protected or harmed these children, and right now they are being harmed. It is under your watch care, and it is your responsibility. Scriptures have harsh warnings against those who cause harm to children. I care for you and wish you to do the right thing for our children and for their sake and for yours.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Deborah Lineback.
We got this. Good evening. Identical by Ellen Hopkins is a top 10 book for teens. It's a story about an all-American family with a father who had unshakable love for his 9-year-old daughter. What your students actually read is the following. I was small, maybe 9. Mommy wasn't home, but Daddy was. Oh, Daddy needs something from you, my girl. Will you give it to me? Then he opens the snaps on his pajamas. It stood as stiff as a stalagmite. Daddy had come back for his lollipop licking. Oh, Daddy wants to teach you something new. He lifted her nightgown, and rolled it over her belly, coaxed her legs apart. Page 319, this is throughout the whole book. Missionary, Daddy on top, doggy style. Daddy on top. And yet this book is celebrated as an award winner. As of this morning, it remains available to students at San Marcos High School. It's been challenged here, and it's been banned by the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Under Senate Bill 13, once a book is challenged, it must be removed until the board makes a decision. The law is clear. The time for excuse is over.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tristan Cleve.
Steal from Debbie, but my name is Tristan Cleve, 301 Wild Plum, San Marcos, Texas. I'm here to talk about the books. Obviously, you all know better. All these people are standing up here looking at you because you're the representatives of these people. And if you represent them by saying that these pornographic books belong in the schools, I wonder what your children would say if I asked them to have you read to your kids a nighttime story about a father raping his 9-year-old. Dr. Cardona, do you read that stuff to your kids before they go to bed? You've had the opportunity for a year and a half to get rid of the smut, and you choose not to do it. The policy in this district on page 1 says, on page 4, the library material shall not include any library material containing indecency, profane content. Raping your daughter is indecent, and if you don't think so, you shouldn't be representing people. Page 1 of the same policy even more explicitly states it's the superintendent's duty to develop administrative procedures to ensure that the library collection complies with state law. You're failing your duties, and you're doing it intentionally.
The next speaker is Jim Davis.
I'm Pastor Jim Davis from Grace Bible Church here in San Marcos. And I am here tonight publicly calling for the termination of Superintendent Cardona for failing to protect our students. For over a year now, he has refused to act despite the disclosure of profane and indecent books in our school libraries. You are hearing it tonight. If you can judge for yourself whether these excerpts meet those definitions. Even though these are clearly indecent and profane books in violation of SB 13, Dr. Cardona has shifted what is legally his responsibility to students, allowing these books to remain as long as a parent doesn't find and challenge them. We therefore conclude that the intent is to delay and evade the matter. The true education of minors should promote honor, virtue, dignity of others, and self-control in the formative years. The brain is to develop these qualities to produce good students. The consequences of promoting profane, and indecent content to minors makes this issue an emergency. I don't know what the board is going to do with all of this, but because of the urgency.
Thank you very much for your comments. The next speaker is Mary Hannah Farmer.
Terminated.
Good evening, Hannah Farmer, 101A Lively Lane in San Marcos. Our San Marcos teens face real-world challenges: substance abuse, family separation, sexual violence, and more. Books offer a safe place to explore difficult topics. process their emotions, and feel less alone. Encountering dark or sexual elements in literature does not mean students will emulate them. Millions of adults read murder mysteries without becoming murderers. Let's give our students more credit. Censors like to claim that certain books aren't even allowed in prisons. Well, guess what? Prisons and schools have vastly different missions. Prisoners have limited rights, while case law shows that students do have First Amendment rights. Do we really want to treat our students like prisoners? Students deserve access to a broad range of literature, and we must trust our professionally trained school librarians to select age-appropriate materials that reflect the realities of our teen readers. And perhaps most importantly, we should trust our children. Better yet, read with them. Might I suggest Fahrenheit 451?
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Colette Brumbaugh.
My name is Colette Brumbaugh, 15 Palmer Lane, Wimberley, Texas. And this is coming from the heart of a mother. As a result of a divorce, my son began visitations with his father, and he was only 4 years old. When he was 7, for various reasons, the courts became involved, and my son was represented by a children's advocate and a court-appointed psychologist who met with my son over a period of time. Meeting with me, they informed me my son had been subjected to porn over these years. I had previously suspected some sort of physical sexual abuse might have occurred, but they indicated that was the case. But however, the effects of children subjected to porn at any age have the same or similar effects as children that are in a physical sexual abuse situation. And that it didn't end at 7. He's 42 years old, and he suffers, and I suffer along with him. Allowing this, you are destroying lives. And you are responsible for sexual abuse.
Thank you very much.
Each child that reads a book.
The next speaker is Doris Arellano. Okay, sorry, I'm having a hard time reading this.
My name is Doris Arellano, and Mika for short. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I live at 1452 Trita Trail in Kyle, Texas, and I'm extremely astounded in a negative way about all the profanity and sexual or derogatory terms in one book entitled 99 Days, One Summer, Two Brothers, and Possible Choices. I just read some literature. I don't want to cry here and now. But anyway, I'm going to go on here. Is this material encouraging our students to learn instructional material? Isn't that what school is about, to learn instructional material? I differ and state that this is more like destructional material. As a teacher of 30 years, I've taught 30 years, and I was taught to respect people, property, and learning. That's what I told my students. That's what I shared with them. Reading about bullying, cheating, death, grief, derogatory terms, profanity, explicit sexual activities, or sexual nudity, I was taught to teach no bullying, honesty, life, goodness, kindness, self-control, good language, respecting your body. And I know all of you would like that. You don't want abuse. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, if I could have Lacey Madiowski. She's going to give us a brief presentation, and I would like to factually correct a statement that was made. I met with Pastor Davis in May of 2025. I don't think calendar-wise that's a year. So, and Lacey will explain the processes that we went through.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Cardona, and the San Marcos community. In response to recent public comments, we do want to reassure the board and the San Marcos community that San Marcos CISD is taking comprehensive and proactive measures to review our library collections, ensure compliance with state law, and maintain transparency with our community. Our goal is to ensure that our school libraries continue to provide high-quality, age-appropriate, and legally compliant resources that support the educational needs of our students. In your board book, you'll see a table comparing key components of the old collection development policy to the new collection development policy, which is in compliance with Senate Bill 13 and the local EFB policy, which you did approve in August. As of Friday, we received from one community member 28 formal reconsideration forms following the process. And again, following procedure, those books have been pulled. Our School Library Advisory Council will see those books in November, and any recommendations will come to you in December.
I first gave you that book that was just read
Oh.
in October 14th.
Moving on now, I would like to request that I have a motion to move the board into closed session. Is there such a
President
motion?
Halsey, I move that we move the board into executive session.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? We're moving so that we can take care of some business things. 19. We have 5 board members in person and 1 board member, I believe, is joining us on Zoom. We're going to return to the point where we left off on the agenda on item 7. And the item there is Principal Appreciation Month, and I'm going to read the proclamation. Today, we honor and recognize the incredible leadership, vision, and dedication of our school principals. School principals are more than administrators. You are mentors, advocates, and champions for students, teachers, and the entire school community. Each day, you make countless decisions to create safe, inclusive, and empowering learning environments where students can thrive and educators can grow. Your commitment goes far beyond the school bell, whether it's guiding school improvement, supporting student well-being, managing operations, or building partnerships with families and the community. To our principals, thank you for your unwavering commitment to excellence. Thank you for leading with integrity, compassion, and purpose. Thank you for being the heart of our schools. Your leadership inspires everyone around you, and your impact will be felt for generations to come. The Board of Trustees, together with San Marcos CISD administration, celebrate you, appreciate you, and thank you for your service to this district. The next item is the construction update from Mr. Sandoval.
Okay, good evening, President Halsey, Board of Trustees, Dr. Cardona. Tonight, we've got a very short construction update. It's actually a video, so if I can get my folks to play it.
San Marcos CISD families, we're excited to bring you a quick update on the progress of your Bond 2023 projects, made possible by your support and commitment to our schools and students. At San Marcos High School, the admin suite has undergone a full transformation, from outdated offices to a modern, welcoming, and secure space for visitors, parents, staff, and students. And outside, the brand new band pad is complete and is already in use, giving our Rattler band the space they need to practice and perform at their best. At Goodnight Middle School, the newly designed courtyard is now open, creating a safe, vibrant outdoor space for learning and connection. The Black Box Theater is taking shape, with performance-ready upgrades that will bring student creativity to center stage. Meanwhile, construction continues on the band hall, which will provide soundproof rehearsal space and much-needed storage for instruments and equipment. Over at Miller Middle School, work is completed for the new state-of-the-art athletic wing. This addition brings updated weight equipment, modern gym spaces, and updated locker rooms for our Miller students. If you have driven by Mendez Elementary, you will see the new Mendez Elementary is underway and expected to be completed summer of 2026. Construction of the natatorium is ongoing, with completion expected by November 2026. This facility will provide valuable opportunities for all students to learn aquatic safety, serve as a training center for our high school swim team, and host district swim meets. Thanks to you, Bond 2023 is transforming our schools one project at a time. We're proud of the progress and even more excited of what's ahead. San Marcos CISD family.
That's so good, we're going to show it again. I'm going to let them control it in there. Let's see.
We're excited to bring you a quick update on the progress of your bond.
Okay. So just a couple of other things that didn't make the video. The campus marquees, all campuses marquees were updated. We've got that project completed. And then also just wanted to share this with you. The entrance to the PAC in the gym at the high school, we're going to have to close that. We're going to do it the week that we get back from Thanksgiving, and it'll be reopened the week after spring break. And that's to allow them to start the construction, the foundation of the black box, the new black box that is going to go right next to the new band hall. So we've created these maps and we're going to post them. We're going to start sharing them out. The drop-off route for parent pickup and delivery, parent pickup and drop-off is not changing, other than the loop that is right outside the PAC in the gym is going to be closed. So there'll be a door that's a little further down from that entrance to the right where you see the red arrow. That'll be the drop-off point, and we'll have students enter through that door. It is, and so the second slide, the second document that you'll see right here is for events. We've opened up the backside of the school, the vehicle gate that is right outside the SAC. We've opened that up. We are doing it right now for football games, so we're allowing people to go park back there. And we'll do it once school is over. We'll open up that gate and allow parking in the SAC parking lot and also on the ROTC lot. And then parents, fans will enter through the ROTC hallway and access the gym and the PAC that way. And, you know, we're trying to find the right time to do this. And we have a lot of events in that PAC in April and May with senior events, etc. So we thought this would be the best time to do it because I do need to get them access to that so they can start construction. So they'll be done with that phase on time. So like I said, we're sharing this out. We're sharing it with visiting coaches, with visiting teams, and also we're going to be posting this through social media, school communications, etc. And with that, that's all I have. I will tell you that this bond update that y'all saw is available on SMCISD.net, as well as the previous updates that we've done. Everything is on there so our community can go and visit and get updates for the 2023 bond.
Mr. Sandoval, so I think that you've done a great job putting signage up at the high school parking lot, directing people through, and I'm assuming we'll do the same when we close the PAC so that people will understand that back entrance is open. And okay.
Yes.
And then also, that video is terrific. Can we play it on Friday night at the football game?
We're already planning.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Andrew and Justice for putting this video together for us. So.
It looks great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, academics. The first quarter academic update, please.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Cardona. My name is Lacey Madiowski, Director of C&I K-12.
And I'm Dr. Cole. I'm the Director of Student Services and Campus Support.
And we'll be reviewing some high-level Q1 data with you this evening. And we're going to, hopefully this looks familiar. This is a KPI scorecard that each school completes 4 times throughout the year. We've been doing this for at least 3 years now. In your board book, you have one per campus to get to that layer of data. Today, we're going to talk a higher level of district data, but you do have those in your board book. And the data that we'll look at tonight will kind of go over these points. And so we're going to start with SEL and safety data. And Dr. Cole will go over that with you.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we want to decrease out-of-school suspension, because if a student is out, they're not going to learn, and then student achievement will go down. So by looking at the numbers, this is where we are for this 9 weeks. So as you can see, in-school suspension for elementary is 27, middle school is 134, high school is 128. Out-of-school suspension for elementary is 5, middle is 45, high school is 33. And our DAEP, our rebound for middle school, we had 22 placements. In high school, we have 35 placements. And the total is at the bottom.
That's over what period of time?
The first 9 weeks.
Is there a comparison data from the first 9 weeks of last year?
I can get it to you.
And was it, whose goal was it to decrease out-of-school suspensions?
It's all of the administrators, because we don't want students to be out of school.
Well, I want disruptors to not be at school because
Well,
they
of
harm
course,
the
that.
education of 50 or 100 kids, right?
Right, of course. Each situation is different.
And we are meeting with, Dr. Cole and I are meeting with every principal this week and last week to go over their specific data. And while you don't see some of their strategies in the scorecards, they have spoken to us about proactive strategies to try to prevent students from being in a situation where OSS would be a consequence. Of course, if it's called for, it's called for. But they do have, they've really thought about their strategies for proactive measures to avoid that even becoming a situation. But yeah, we can get those numbers from last year.
And then our next one is attendance. Of course, every board meeting we do recognize our top secondary and our top elementary performer. So as you can see with this data, our district target is 95%. There are some elementary schools and a few middle schools, two middle schools that they actually want 96%. That's their goal. So as you can see, we are doing a little bit better in some of the categories. So first 9 weeks for elementary last year, or this year is 94.62. So last year we were 94.86. First 9 weeks for middle school, 95.66. So we are above last year, 95.42. And then for high school is doing extremely well this year with 94.53 attendance compared to last year, 93.28. I will tell you, we get newsletters every week. Each school is doing attendance initiatives because they know they need the kids in school. And that's where the learning is going to take place. So they're communicating to parents and to the community to make sure their students, their children are in school.
Okay, so we're going to shift some of that academic data from the first 9 weeks. First up, we have our percentage of failing grades. I do want to point out this is, so for example, in elementary, our 2nd through 5th grade kiddos have 4 core classes that they get grades on. So there's a potential there of over 10,000 grades. That's what we checked from. And so of that, you have the 1.7% of grades entered were failing grades. So that could reflect one student in multiple areas. And then the numbers, of course, of possible grades are larger in middle and high school. But that's where the percentages come from our first 9 weeks. Again, as we are in conversation with principals, we're finding that they have developed really great systems for being proactive, but also having teachers document and share what strategies they put into place to avoid failures, and then if they still happen, to support them on the backside. So again, campus-specific strategies have been really promising.
Sorry, can you just clarify that?
Sure.
So at the high school, for instance, the 5.9%, does that mean that 5.9% of the high school students have a failing grade? It doesn't mean that 5.9% of high schoolers are failing out, correct?
Right. Those are not students. Those are grades. So at the high school, for example, over 16,000 grades were issued because every student has 8 grades on that report card.
Okay.
And so of the total over 16,000 grades on the report cards, 5.9% of those grades were a failure.
Okay.
But those are not number of students.
I think that's helpful. I do think going forward it might be helpful to know what the number of students are who have a failing grade, right? Because we're talking about kids.
Yes. And I believe if you look at the high school scorecard, I think I'm right, that they have it by number of students.
Okay.
You can double check, fact check me on that one. All right, so we're going to move into our district common assessment data. As a reminder, we administer 3 of these a year, 1 here in October, 1 in December, and 1 in the spring, just prior to our STAR testing season. And so high-level view of RLA in our elementary 3rd through 5th. As a reminder, you see that goal on the left, 80, 50, 30. And so of all of our tests in this area, you can see the percentages there along the top of all, and then our sub-pops. The numbers in parentheses reflect a change from DCA 1 last year. So a different group of students, this isn't cohort, but it is comparing how students last year did on this exam versus this year. And on the next slide, you have 3rd through 5th SLAR. We'll move to 3rd through 5th grade math. Something to note here is when we create these assessments in-house, we mimic the cut scores that the state used in the STAR in the prior spring. And so DCA1 this year used the spring 2025 cut scores, which did go up at the meets and masters level for 4th and 5th grade. So it was harder in the spring of 25 and therefore on DCA1 to achieve that master's level. So we're taking that into consideration when we see a difference from performance last year. However, the cut scores for approaches at the state last year and therefore on our exams this year did go down slightly. And we seem to have benefited from that. 5th grade science, we did not show a comparison to last year. Last year's DCA1 was pretty different than this year's DCA1 in content. In part, our curriculum specialist that we have now has really upped the rigor and validity of the assessment. And 2, we have the shifting of science standards, and so they just really weren't an apples to apples comparison. But we are excited to see our elementaries really start to focus on their science instruction. They're starting to see themselves as part of a vertical family of science education and really getting them ready all the way to that bio exam and beyond. They've really been receptive to the new curriculum and the supports that have come in place this year. Shifting to middle school, here is our overall 6th through 8th grade RLA scores at both middle schools. This is kind of in the weeds, but it's kind of nerdy and fun. Something we noticed in looking at the questions that students stumbled on, it tended to be those really requiring some academic language. So for example, why are the events in paragraph 1 important to the rising action of the story? And so what we have challenged our teachers and their administrators is, are we asking questions in class orally that sound like the rigor of that question that they're seeing in writing? So we'll be excited to see by DCA2 if maybe we see a difference in those type of questions, because our oral questioning in class, hopefully we see that rigor go up. And then in middle school math, green across the board. We continued with our STEM Scopes curriculum this year, though STEM Scopes themselves did kind of revamp. And I don't know if you remember, we had Mr. Shaw present that to y'all in the spring, and he admitted that he was skeptical of the product and then found that, oh wow, these revisions are really great. So we think we're seeing some growth thanks to that curriculum. We also remember we're way more intentional with our placement in our math pathways at middle school, finding that spot where students are appropriately challenged. And we think we're seeing some success from that. And then we're currently digging in a little bit deeper to that double blocked 7th grade math to see what trends we're noticing there. So I don't have any results just yet from you there, but those are our early analysis around middle school math.
Can you explain a little bit, because of those separate streams of math? So these are 6th graders taking the 6th grade DCA, 7th graders taking the 7th, but also 6th graders taking the 7th?
All of the above, yes.
But there's not the 7th graders taking algebra. They're in one of these later.
Slide.
Okay.
Yes. yes. Move it on, she's saying. All right, algebra, there it is, middle school algebra. So these would be your 7th graders and your 8th graders taking algebra. 229 total testers, and you see the growth there. This is a spot where hopefully you notice that goal of 80-50-30. Lots of success there.
But that's a little bit of fool's gold, right? Because last year you made every 8th grader take it, and this year you split them.
This year they are more appropriately placed.
So last year there were kids in 8th grade algebra who weren't as ready for 8th grade algebra, and now they're not in this testing group at all, right?
So yeah.
So the
maybe
number of
full
testers
fold.
likely went down 200,
Yes, some testing numbers went down.
and that's the bottom 200 performers as
Yeah.
they spread, right? Okay.
Good catch. 8th grade science. Again, we're really optimistic about the teachers' embracing of the new product. We do attribute some backslide from last year's DCA1 to just the quality of the test created this year. The specialist that we have was not in this position last year. She was an incredible assistant principal at the high school at the time, and now we have her on our team, and she's really upped the quality. And so we attribute some of that to it, but I think the instruction is on its way to matching that rigor, and we feel good about the potential growth there. And then we have our 8th grade social studies. Similarly, the specialist that we have in our social studies position right now was not in it this time last year creating DCA1. And they really helped this year bring the rigor of the exam up to be a little more a lot more star aligned. But we have a pretty extensive vetting process where campus leaders help vet those exams. And in our conversations with principals who had conversations with their teachers, they appreciated seeing the exam where it needed to be. They understand where the bar is, and they're pretty motivated to get there. Shifting to high school, we have our E1 scores. And then our E2 scores, lots of growth there. Almost hitting our 80-50 for all students. Here's your high school algebra testers. Pretty small number because most do take in middle school. And then we have our biology team scores, They had some scope changes. They're still adjusting to TEKS, but man, they are a strong team. They are pretty relentless when it comes to student learning. And so they had some tremendous growth on their star last year, and we're pretty confident that team will continue that trajectory. And then we'll round it out with our U.S. history scores. They have consistently met the 80-50-30, and Dr. Guajardo has encouraged them to shoot well beyond that. And start also looking at regional scores and how we're measuring up, because our region scores are typically a little higher than state. So it's a pretty competitive, seasoned group of teachers at U.S. History, and they are ready to meet that goal. And then finally, one of our big pushes this year with our campus administrators is giving quality feedback and having a decent amount of observations in order to give that feedback. And so they have been challenged this year to be in classrooms doing a walkthrough with quality feedback 5 times per administrator per week. And so we track those. Dr. Cole sends out a report to principals every Sunday with a bar graph showing if they met the goal or not, which is really getting their competitive spirit going. Every month at the principal meeting, we share the last month's worth. And we're just really excited to see our numbers. I can tell you they're significantly higher than last year. And they are quality, and we're spending a good amount of time at every principal collab. We collaborate with the HR department to continue our training with administrators on quality observation and feedback. And so you see numbers here, but I can tell you too, the quality has improved, which should result in improved instruction and student outcomes. So we look forward to being back in January. We'll have quarter 2 ready for you at that point. Thank you.
Any questions from the board? I do. Can you just give us a little breakdown of what that walkthrough looks like? Is it in a specific grade level usually? Is it in a specific subject matter?
Yes.
What are they doing?
Each campus creates their own walkthrough schedule. Some do it by department. So it might be, I take the English department this week, you take the science and so forth. It might be place of building, so you take upstairs, I'll take downstairs. It might be I'm going to hit up the new teachers this week. You're going to get some year 2s, year 3s. So every campus is a little different in how they divvy it up, but they do have an eye toward making sure everyone's getting as equal amount as possible. Probably a little bit more with our earlier profession teachers and more coaching in that area.
And then if I could also say, what they do is their admin meetings that they have usually Monday morning, they'll discuss the walkthroughs. And they say, you know what, Lacey was kind of struggling here. I wasn't sure. Can you go visit her this week? Or, hey, she knocked it out of the park. Go see her. So that's how we're doing collaboration. Beth Cantu with HR is helping at the principals meeting where we're making sure we're not inflating walkthroughs, not inflating the observations so that the administrative team is aligned.
TIA funds have really put an extra layer of urgency to make sure that our observation and feedback is matching student outcomes.
Anybody else?
Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. The next is the bilingual update.
Good evening, President Halsey, Dr. Cardona, Board of Trustees. My name is Monica Valadez, and I am the Director of Multilingual Services and Community Engagement. And I have with me here this evening our new ESL Coordinator, Yvette Gamboa. So we'll be sharing in the presentation. So first up, wanted to just introduce y'all to our staff at the Multilingual Services. If y'all aren't familiar with who they are, of course, I just introduced Yvette myself. But we also have this year Mary Jane Godina, who is our family liaison, and she helps support our newcomer students and their families as they are arriving to the district, arriving to a country, helping them feel welcome, registering them, helping support and connect them to our campuses. Amongst other things, right? She does a lot of community engagement, which is part of our responsibility through Title III as well. So we really kind of cover the gamut in multilingual services, everywhere from academic achievement to English language development to professional learning, and also to compliance through LPAC, and to parent and family engagement, which is part of, again, Title III. We have Saskia Medrano. Y'all have met her. She has been with our department for a few years now, and she is our bilingual specialist and helps support the construction of academic supports for our campuses, including the DCA writing in Spanish, etc. And then we have Sonia Villalobos. She tried to hang out, but she went home. She was here to support the program, but she is our LPAC specialist, so she helps support campuses with their LPAC team. So every campus has an LPAC team that looks after the identification and reclassification and monitoring of our students. So as you see, those strands that we really kind of cover. So our language programs, we have two basically. One is the dual language program, and it is considered a bilingual education model. And then of course we have English as a second language. And then just quickly going through it, our dual language immersion program, of course it's English and the partner language is Spanish. And we have two-way and one-way classrooms. So De Zavala, Mendez, 5th grade at Bowie, and of course Hernandez, they all have the dual language immersion program. Over at Hernandez, we have more classrooms that have a two-way, which is more integration of our English proficient students. We have less at Mendez and De Zavala, and we're trying to increase the interest in our parents who are English speakers to really be part of the program. We've had great success at Hernandez, and we know we would have great success over here at De Zavala and Mendez. So it's just trying to get our families from our campuses and attendance zones over here to take a risk and join us in dual language. And then in ESL, we have two program types. One is ESL content-based. Basically means that the teacher who is teaching the students in her homeroom, she is ESL certified, and she's teaching them all content areas. So she takes that knowledge into teaching them social studies, math, science, English, or reading. And then we have ESL pullout. That ESL pullout is students at the secondary level that are receive additional services. They receive English language development by an ESL teacher, right? So they're pulling them out into another course. And then at our high school, we have our newcomers that participate in ESOL 1 and ESOL 2. ESOL 1 and ESOL 2 are versions of English 1 and English 2 that are hyper-focused on the students who are newcomers and trying to attain the English language while also preparing for the English 1 exam and English 2 exam.
Okay, so now we're going to take a look at our emerging bilingual numbers. This is a program update for the 24-25 school year. So all these numbers are from what we had last year. So 1,419 EB students total, 644 of those in the dual language program. That is only our EB students, so those are not our non-EB English proficient. And then 775 in ESL. So you'll notice that we have our dual language program running from pre-K through 5th grade. And with that opportunity there, a majority of our students are in the dual language program as opposed to the ESL language program. 6th through 8th grade, middle school, this is also ESL. There's a misconception sometimes that we have dual language at our middle schools at Miller and Goodnight. Those courses are actually LOTE, so that's a world language program, and our students who are EB do participate in ESL at Miller and Goodnight. And then additionally, 9th through 12th grade, we also have the ESL language program. Okay, this slide here covers our dual language non-EB student enrollment. So these are our English proficient students. Not EB, there is an application required. Entry is from pre-K and kindergarten, sometimes 1st grade, but of course we want to start them off as early as possible. The spaces are dependent on availability. So depending on numbers, our non-EB students must not make up more than 40% of the dual language program, and that's across the district. So distributed amongst Hernandez, DZ, Mendez, and Bowie. Okay, then we have our newcomer and immigrant enrollment. So because we do not have a bilingual education language program at the secondary level, we do offer for our newcomers a more specialized ESL program and ESOL. So we have 102 students from 23-24 school year and 103 students in the 24-25 school year. Our immigrant student enrollment was 235 in the 23-24 school year and 265 last school year. So this year's numbers will be presented and the program update next year because we'll have to go through the entire year. We still continue to have newcomers and EB students enrolling every week. And so we'll have those total numbers next year. We are currently at 1,414 EB students, like as of this morning in total, but that continues to change every week.
Do those numbers, so the newcomers, they're only counted as newcomers the first year and the immigrant ones the first year, or do they count for 2 or 3 or?
So they are coded as immigrant for 3 years.
Okay.
And we provide newcomer services for 2 years. So we have some students that are coded immigrant in that 265 last year. We have some students that are coded immigrant, but they're not English, they're not emerging bilingual students because they came in English proficient. So they have a birth certificate outside of the U.S., but they didn't qualify because they weren't English learners, right? So that's one of the differences, right? The students that are enrolled in ESOL 1, ESOL 2, in that English language development course at Goodnight where we have our newcomers, those students are both immigrant and they are English learners. So those are the students that are considered the newcomer students. And we do provide 2 years of services, But then they can get additional services through our MTSS model, RTI model. We have documentation from teachers that are indicating they need additional support.
So professional development was listed there on the left. Those were both in-house provided by the department, as well as going out to the Region 13 Service Center and conferences. On the right, those were the projected outcomes from that professional development. I'll highlight two of those. The first one, an increase in academic discourse in all core subject areas. So the emphasis here is that it's not the sole responsibility of the reading language arts teacher, but it's responsibility of all core content area teachers. And so one of those language instructional strategies is called CBLI, content-based language instruction, and it's really about teaching language through content. So that was one of the projected outcomes. The second one that I will highlight is the third bullet down, build capacity of district and campus instructional coaches in instructional planning to support teachers when planning for EB student instructional accommodations and instructional strategies. So here we do have the ESL coordinator and the dual language coach who do provide some coaching opportunities with teachers, especially when they are working towards earning certification. But in building capacity with our campus coaches, then that helps to make sure that teachers of EB students have that continuous support day to day without solely relying on the department.
So again, just a quick reminder, this is data from last year, right? So this is our state assessment, and we went ahead and combined, as the state does, 3rd through 8th grade tests, right? So at the bottom is all our testers, and then at the top is specific to emerging bilingual English learner students. And when I average them all out, right, average all tests across our EBs and all tests across all students, we still see 15% achievement gap between our EB students and our all students, right? So there's a lot of work to be done, and one of the main things that we're focusing on, and we can't stress it enough, is that all of our teachers, especially our content area teachers, they're all language teachers. They have to accept the role that they're all language teachers. They are all teaching language through their content. Is something that Ms. Madiowski mentioned a little while ago, is the student has to have an ear for academic language, right? So that means that the teacher has to be presenting her information or his information in academic language, and then scaffolding the student so that they can develop that ear for academic language in the other in English. And then it builds, if you grow the capacity to understand it listening, then of course that is going to be applicable to you producing the language orally and then in writing and in reading, right? So oftentimes we dismiss the importance of the listening. And I always liken it to where I started my master's program and then into my PhD program, my professors were speaking English and I didn't understand a word they were saying, right? And they would give me English written articles, and I would read them over and over trying to decipher what these theorists were saying. So you have to develop the discourse, the language, to be able to access the content. So I'm sorry, I took a little long on that one. But this is our EOC, and so in our EOC we see a little less gap, right? We see a 9% achievement gap between our EB and then our all, but we need to take into account that EOCs, they test multiple times, right? So they test in the fall and the retesters, and they'll test again in the spring, and they test again in the summer, and they continue until they pass, right? And so that might be attributable to the fact that they have multiple opportunities to pass it.
Okay, next we have our TELPAS results from the 25 school year compared to 2024. So the percent of students who grew 1 or more levels on their composite score increased in all campuses except for 2. We had Bowie with 41% in 2024 and 38% in 2025, as well as Miller Middle School, who decreased from 45% to 28%. Okay, on the right-hand side, there's a pie chart there that shows the distribution of English language proficiency from beginning to advanced high, with the majority of our EB students earning intermediate proficiency in English. 43% of our EBs grew 1 or more levels on their TELPAS composite score in comparison to 2023, where 37% grew. And then the paragraph there, or sentence there on the top about all campuses met with EB students and provided goal setting for TELPAS based on an in-house tracker. We are doing that again this school year. We did start with principals and all campus administration, so that way it continues to spread the emphasis that it's not just like the LPAC administrator who's responsible, but it's a collective, and that way principals have that on the forefront on creating campus systems to make sure that we are already goal setting with our EB students and monitoring progress throughout the year.
And I want to just say something on that. It's also, as Ms. Cantu mentioned, it's the involvement of parents, right? So what we have found is sometimes parents aren't understanding why students are taking the TELPAS exam, right? And so we're stressing the need, one, to communicate that out early to our parents, to let them know. Sometimes they're like, well, why are they taking this test? They know English, right? And then we also have some misconceptions with students who just take it as another exam and they don't want to take another exam, right? So the importance of the goal setting for students is, one, you have the capacity. Some of the students that are doing fairly well in reading and yet not performing in TELPAS, right? Because they always hear star, 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 and then TELPAS comes around and they're not exactly understanding the urgency of it. So it really is meeting with students, helping parents understand the importance and why they take this exam, and that they can reclassify, right? So you shouldn't get a meets in your star reading and then get beginner or intermediate in TELPAS, right? So the reclassification. So one of the trends that I'm appreciating seeing is that if you notice that 45, I can't see, I didn't bring my glasses. 45% of the students that reclassified last year actually had dual language in their elementary year, right? And so they're reclassifying in greater numbers as they're entering middle school, which is where we're wanting them to reclassify, right, after 7 years, et cetera, in English language development. So we're not doing the transitional program anymore. Transitional tried to get them to reclassify a lot sooner, preferably in elementary, but it also set them up for future failure in middle school and then in high school. So we're starting to see that trend where our EBs are starting to reclassify at greater numbers in middle school, which is really good. And 20% of those students were in the transitional program. So those are high school students, right? Because we started the program in 2018. Those students that matriculated through ESL, they accounted for 30%, and those who denied all service, or parents denied all services, they accounted for less than 1%.
Right, so now we have waivers, certifications, and recruitment. So waivers in 23-24, we submitted for 3 bilingual exceptions and 23 ESL waivers. Of those, 3 of our educators earned their ESL certification. Then moving on to the 24-25 school year, we submitted 3 bilingual exceptions and 26 ESL waivers. Of those educators, 15 earned their ESL certification, 4 no longer with the school district. So for certification, we reestablished the ELPS focus. SMCISD has an asynchronous Canvas course for the ESL Academy, so those modules were used. Partnership through Texas State to support the bilingual certification exam. Coaching cycles with the ESL coordinator and with the dual language coach. And then collaboration with district specialists as well. And then our recruitment, we are constantly recruiting with our Texas State University residency program, our student teachers, peer referrals, and program presentations. So we continue to go to surrounding area universities and speak with our aspiring educators and that are in education programs about what we have here at SMCISD in multilingual education. Oh, this year, we're submitting 3 bilingual exceptions and 18 ESL waivers.
And there is supposed to be a number before that percentage sign. I apologize, that was my fault. I was supposed to add that. It is over 90% teachers who complete the modules, right? Teachers who complete the modules of the asynchronous ESL Academy, almost 95% of them pass their ESL exam. So the importance of those modules, and Ms. Gamboa went ahead and refreshed those as well, made sure they match the information that they need in order to successfully pass that exam. And finally, no, I think there's second to the last slide. I'm sorry, this is long, but family and parent engagement. So I mentioned Title III are funds that we receive specifically to English language development, and part of that is, of course, professional development, but also parent and family engagement, community engagement. So again, Ms. Godina, our family liaison, she's been wonderful. She started last year with us in really trying to engage the families from small sessions with parents, right, where she taught them about their rights, where she had nonprofit organizations come and present to them, where she taught them about STAR and what it means and how to look up their child's information on the Texas Assessment Management System, right? So a lot of useful information. So she's done series of training sessions for our parents, but then also big events. We had a family fun fair with our community where we had student presenters, students that came and read their UIL contest, the UIL contest winners. And then they also asked if they could sing, so they also sang songs as well. So it was a really fun time. And that top left-hand corner, that is an image of our LOTE ceremony. So this isn't part of the update, right? The update is really about emerging bilingual students. But because we feed a lot of our former dual language students are taking these LOTE options in secondary, we have a ceremony because in 7th grade, if they take that course, they get their first high school LOTE credit. And then if they take that 8th grade Spanish 2, they get 2 additional credits. So in that ceremony, we had 7th graders that had received or were going to be receiving their first high school language credit. And we had 8th graders that were also going to be receiving an additional 2 high school credits, right? And so we encourage them not necessarily to focus only on the credit, but also on becoming bilingual and continuing that bilingual trajectory. And then next steps, just a couple of things, because y'all have it in front of you.
That's very small.
Yes, it is. I'm telling you, I can't see. So we'll just point out a couple of things. One, I go back to the content-based language instruction. So important for all of our teachers to be language teachers. Even if you're teaching math, you're a language teacher. If you're teaching science, you're a language teacher. You have to teach language. That's at the core of how the students will engage with the content and understand it. These are academic content, academic courses, right? And then they take a test that is highly academic, so it's very important. And then the 3rd through 8 tested subjects is really, again, and it focusing on those domains of language production, the listening, the speaking, reading, and writing. We'll focus on the CBLI, content-based, and then dual language, immersion. We are doing an audit this year. It's been 5 years since we did an audit of our program, so we'll be doing an audit of our program, making sure that we're following a content and language allocation plan, utilizing the materials provided by the district, really supporting the students' development both in English and the partner language, which is Spanish. And that is it.
Those are updates.
Thank
Are there
you
any
both.
questions?
Questions from the board? I just want to say that I think our dual language program continues to be a real source of pride for the district, and I can see through this presentation how successful the implementation of it and the continuation of it is. And on behalf of the board, thank you for that. It's terrific. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, moving forward, we are at item 8, the approval of the consent agenda items.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda items.
Motion made. Motion seconded. Any questions, discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? That motion carries.
The next item is for action, the board discussion regarding the change for the 2025-2026 board meeting calendar committee and the naming of specific areas within the new central administration building committee. Dr. Cardona.
So you had asked me to find out if one committee could do multiple things, and yes, for this, for renaming, for school buildings, for potentially finance, for other areas other than library, yes, one committee can be convened by the board to get advice only. The board has sole decision-making authority.
Okay. So then I think the idea would be that we would go ahead and form this committee, find active and engaged members of the community to serve, and then determine what the agenda that they're going to take up would be and which items we want them to do first, and they would meet. And then we also spoke about the committee holding some sort of public forum similar to that we've done with the bond in the past, working with staff so that there are issues that are important to the board and we want to hear back. Do we have any comments, questions about that?
So would you anticipate 3 meetings, 4 meetings? What do I tell a potential candidate about the time commitment?
So I think that it should just be for this school year.
Okay.
I think that we've talked about wanting to get feedback on the naming of this building. I think that's probably the first issue that the committee would take up. We've also talked about the committee doing some research, potential brainstorming, some idea generating about the property, the old central office property. That could be a topic. I think if we needed to follow up on bond issues, but I think we're probably okay with that, but that could conceivably be an issue. And then I think the other one would be when we get into the budget process, if we want to, we had the budget meeting earlier this year where we did the presentation for the public. I don't know if we would want to do another presentation. These are just the ideas that I came up with, but I think, so 3 or 4 meetings.
Because they also have to discuss the calendar, right?
Right.
That's 4. Naming, the property, budget, and calendar. So 4 meetings.
Plus any public forums that.
Budget, calendar, naming. Okay.
So just in paneling these individuals, is it good, I mean, I know back when my kids were in school, especially in elementary school, there was oftentimes that principals would approach parents who were very active in the schools and ask them to be part of these types of committees. I feel like that's a little bit more effective because you have people who are actually wanting to be involved and already showing some level of commitment to different activities. Is that something we can do here to maybe panel some of those or ask maybe our principals, principal secretaries, whoever has most contact? In the past, I would have gone to parent liaisons, but those in the schools who know what's going on, what parents are really involved, to kind of help here, because I don't like cold calling people and then having them say yes out of obligation and then not be able to commit to the long term of these meetings.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We talked previously about it not just being 7 people appointed by the board, so we need to talk about the composition and the number of people. Okay. With the bond committees in the past, I believe they've been rather large, though. I think we don't want it quite that large. But I think that every board member should have the option of appointing somebody, and if you don't have a particular person, I think reaching out to the superintendent to find somebody who might be interested is fine. But I think also the superintendent and his cabinet should be represented, and I think that you should have some discretion in terms of appointing staff and teachers and parents who might be interested. So what do we think? 12 people? Does that seem 7 from the board and 6? Sorry, my math is not mathing. 5 people from, does it seem like enough? Yes. At least try and see where it goes. I mean, if we try this year, see how it works, and make changes next year.
And Okay. So 5's a lot from admin. Are they going to be parents or are they going to be like administrators? Oh, parents. And I just, from where I sit, I think the budget, I know we were just brainstorming, but the budget seems like a unique issue that's probably not great for the sort of ad hoc committee because, I mean, it takes us a while with the intricacies of school finance, and the administration is usually producing information just in time for our own process. So I'm not crazy about throwing that on folks that haven't delved into it before, at least in year one.
I think that's fine. I think that we're just going to need to start the budget process early because we do have a deficit again.
Right.
And I think we want to make sure that we allow for public input and that we continue to be as transparent as possible. But if it seems like it might be difficult, especially since it's already October, to try to involve a group like that, that makes
Have them
sense
be
to me.
ahead of us. It'd
Sure.
be hard for them to be
Sure.
ahead of us.
And I think the naming and the property and the calendar are enough really to get going anyway.
And not as time sensitive.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
But I think that I think staff should lead it. So I think a staff member from the cabinet would lead it. That would be one of the 5 people.
Just looking at that
And
like
then I
the
would defer
short
to you
straw.
to determine who your other 4 appointees seem like would be best served. So, okay. So is there a motion to convene the committee as, oh, sorry, Ms. Cantu. We can't hear you.
If we're going to involve parents, it'd be good to have a parent representing elementary level, one middle school, and one high school. If we're going to involve parents.
I agree.
That's my
I think that
opinion.
once the superintendent sees who the board has nominated, that he can assess from there where to fill in the gaps.
Okay.
Mr. Redondo, welcome back.
Thank you, President Halsey. I was listening in transit. I guess the only question that I had, obviously I have a Rolodex of folks that I could reach out to, but even that, I will, argue that could potentially be like an echo chamber of perspective, so I'll acknowledge that. So are we gonna have like a public-facing process if folks want board member to consider appointments from board members or the administration, or how is that process gonna work? Like if someone's watching at home this evening and says, hey, I really want to serve, is it upon them to email me directly, or is there some type of public-facing self-nomination process that we as board members can then pick from in addition to the folks we might ask? Or should we steer folks who we ask to a process?
We haven't done that before, but I don't think it's a bad idea. I think that we could certainly ask Mr. Fernandez and his team to send out something in the weekly notices that go out to the community that ask the people who are interested to go ahead and send an email or fill out a Google Doc. Yeah, if everybody is amenable to that idea. Obviously, we couldn't, if we should get 50 people who would be interested in this capacity, we would have to, it would fall to the discretion of the board and administration, but.
Well, thank you, President Halsey. And I guess in that same vein, it's, I might pick parent A because whatever reasons, right? But if folks provided a rationale of why they want to participate, very much in the same way that the city council appoints to boards and commissions. Yeah. I'm a history professor and I want to serve on whatever commission pertains to the history of San Marcos, right? Maybe there are neighbors or parents or citizens at large just have unique skill sets, retired librarian, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, as we have those conversations, if folks who are uniquely qualified to weigh in on those conversations, it'd be interesting, and I think it'd be to the betterment of the district if those folks, floated to the top with board consideration and review.
I mean, we have a process for people to apply to be on the shack.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're quite at that level yet because this is a new endeavor, but I think I'm amenable to that if
So,
everybody is. Mr.
For
McLaughlin, you look.
clarification, are we saying that that instead of the traditional practice has been one trustee, one member, that we would instead put nominations in a group hopper and we're gonna like go through them in a meeting. Is that what you were suggesting?
Kind of, sort of, but not really. So I
Okay.
guess, I already have a few parents who I've reached out to and said, hey, we're having conversations about these citizen committees. Are you interested? If we had this public facing process, I'd say, great. Maybe I can't appoint all 4 of my appointees or the folks that I've reached out to, but I can appoint one. Maybe y'all consider the others or vice versa, right? Maybe you have 3 parents who would be great assets, and I have some people who I'm kind of dragging along in this process, but wow, Jessica got a, retired school librarian to want to participate. Maybe I want to make that my appointee, right? So I think I would still, each board member would retain their one appointee,
Okay.
but maybe there's just like a pool that folks,
For people we may not know that have an interest.
because I think
Okay.
historically there have been some instances where some of our predecessors have appointed somebody because they've always known that they're willing to serve, right? And maybe that's not the best way to go about this process. So if there's a pool for some of us to look at, then even better.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Does somebody want to make a motion to form that committee as we just discussed? Yes, Ms. Kane. Motion made. I will second the motion. Is there any further conversation? Mr. Fernandez, do you have any questions?
Do we have a name for the committee? I don't want to just say,
I think it's the Parental Advisement Committee, isn't it?
okay, that's what we're calling it.
Engagement or no?
Parental engagement? Or the, no.
Because it satisfies the parental engagement process, correct? Is that,
Does it have to be
For the
named that in order to
calendar.
satisfy that?
or the parent advisory committee? Parent advisory committee?
You want to say that? We also have a DEIC.
For the sake of acronyms, we do have the School Library Advisory Council. So we just think about those words as you're picking your next batch. Slack.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Mariowski, that's a name that's already been picked or something we need to satisfy, is what you're saying?
It's part of the SB 13 that we would have a School Library Advisory Council. And I think it would be wise to stick with that name just so that the evidence of our compliance with SB 13 is not
Right.
questioned.
And that's what we
different.
approved in August.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was just reminding
They're
us of the
discreet.
verbiage that's out there. It is separate, but should you want to avoid confusion, just reminding you of the acronym that's already there, Advisory Council.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fernandez, do you have a suggestion for a name?
I would like a few minutes to think about it,
Yes.
but if you don't mind, I can create one and send it to the group. Everyone's good with that. We can even
We could put a committee together to name
No,
it.
no. Yes. All right, we're going to move. Any other questions? Any other discussion? If not, we will look to Mr. Fernandez to try to generate the appropriate name to represent the committee's duties. And any other questions? If not, all in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries 7-0. The next item is the consideration of the approval for the turnaround plan for Bowie Elementary. It
I'll
has
move to approve the turnaround plan as presented.
I'll second.
motion made and seconded. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. That motion also carries 7-0. And the final items are the action items on closed session. The first one is discussion action regarding modification to board policy BED local board policy.
I'm going to combine A and B and move to approve the modification of BED local and the board operating procedures on public comments as revised.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Yes.
I just want the record to reflect that I did enter into executive session, but I left prior to the conversation related to these 2 items, so I'm just going to abstain.
Okay. And once these are approved, I think we'll put them up on the website showing both the original version and then the version that's edited, so anybody who's interested can see specifically what was changed. I think it's too detailed to go through right now, but it'll be publicly available. All right. Without further comments, all in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed, abstaining. Thank you. There's no action on C. And the last item, discussion action regarding J.R. minor by and through his parents and next friends D.W. and R.W. and J.W. minor by and through his parents and next friends D.W. and R.W. versus SMCISD in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Texas, Austin, Division case number unassigned. Is a statement from the board. The Board of Trustees has reviewed the matter discussed in closed session and will take no action at this time. Tonight's discussion marks the first opportunity the board has had to review this matter together, as it was not appealed to the board in a timely manner through the district's grievance process by the attorneys and parents suing the district. Although the district is limited in what can be shared publicly because of ongoing litigation, the board stands behind district administration and staff. The district intends to see this litigation through the court process and be vindicated of the unfounded allegations made by the plaintiffs in this case. San Marcos CISD remains committed to ensuring that all students learn in a safe, respectful, and supportive environment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you very much, everybody, for staying late.